All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to start this lesson off by giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are still fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to the Akwath, which are the sincere sisters. And Shalom to the Israelites of the hopeful elect, who are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and who are amongst these heathen nations and look like these heathen nations. Now, this lesson is going to be basically based on the fall of our enemy. Our chief enemy, of course, being the so-called self-proclaimed white people, the Edomites. So through the Spirit, I'm going to give some precepts, and Lord's will, you're edified. Ecclesiasticus 25:7. There be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that have joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. And that is the time that we are in. We are in the time of the fall of our chief enemy, which is the so-called white man, the so-called white women, and their children as well. The whole nation of Edom is falling, and we're witnessing it. And that's why you have so many Edomites getting on social media and crying and talking about how they feel like brown people are going to replace them. And that's why they're so hell-bent on getting brown people out of America, because they feel like brown people are starting to outnumber them. And because especially these so-called white men, they know that a good portion of so-called white women actually like brown-skinned men, whether it's the so-called black man or the Hispanic men, or the Native American men, or Asian men, or just men that are not so-called white. That pisses Esau off. He doesn't like that, because for the longest period of time, he's been lied to by, his fellow Edomites and told that, so-called white people are better than everybody else. White is right, and everybody else, all these brown-skinned people, they're nothing, and they're beneath us, and they're less than us, and they're inferior to us. So a lot of these Edomites, they have that mindset that anybody that's not so-called white is less than them. But then you see these Edomite women getting with these brown-skinned men, and it's not making any sense. Like Esau can't seem to figure it out, because he's been lied to his whole life and told that he's better than everybody. So then why is his own woman choosing to be with other men? Not only that, but these Edomite women are getting on social media and they're tearing Esau apart, talking about how, he's the problem in the world. His own woman has turned against him. Here in America, you have a lot of Edomites that are against other Edomites. You have the whole Democrat and Republican thing. You have the Jewish versus the Christians. These Edomites, they're just divided amongst each other. And there's that old saying, a house divided cannot stand. And it's, written in the scriptures as well. A nation divided cannot stand. A house divided cannot stand. So the nation of Edom being divided against each other, they're going to fall. And there's nothing that they can do to stop it. And those of us of the hopeful elect, we're rejoicing as we watch it happen. Job 14:5. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. And that's right. Esau has always been on a time limit. His time in rulership has always been for a certain amount of time, you know, and he can't go past that. And we're getting to the end of his time in rulership. The Lord let him loose for a short period of time, and now his time is almost up. And that's why everything is going wrong for these Edomites. Every time they do something, consequences follow shortly thereafter. Everything is falling apart for them. Everything is blowing up in their face. Everything is coming back to bite them in the ass. Like, they can't catch a break. And they don't deserve to. They are the wicked. They deserve everything that's happening to them. And all the things that are happening to them are signs that their ultimate downfall is right around the corner. And they can't stop it. They can scratch and claw and cry and complain and throw anything and everything at the wall and hoping that it sticks so they can stay in power. But it's not going to work, because the Heavenly Father himself has ordained that their rulership was only going to be for a short period of time. And that's why you see these devils, these Edomites, they're acting up a lot more. They're getting a lot more hostile, a lot more violent, because they know that they have a short time, and they're trying their hardest to stay in power. But it's not going to work. Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And when it says the devil here with a lowercase d, it's talking about Esau, because the so-called white man is the human counterpart to the spiritual demon Satan. The Edomites are the spiritual demon Satan's human counterparts, just like the Israelites are the Lord's human counterparts. And anybody that's been paying attention to the news, and I'm not just talking about Western media, I'm talking about, news in general, the Eastern media, Western media, both sides, you can see that Esau, he's acting up. He's becoming a lot more hostile, a lot more aggressive, because he knows that he has but a short time. Like I said, he knows that his power is waning. He's losing his power. And he's scratching and clawing, trying to stay in power, trying to figure out some way that he doesn't fall. But there's nothing he can do, because the Lord has set it up that he would rule for a short period of time, and then his fall would happen. And this time when he falls, that's it. That's game over. These Edomites, after they fall, their ass is going into slavery for 1,000 years. And after that 1,000 years of the most hardcore, brutal slavery that any nation has ever experienced, by the hand of his people Israel, the Lord is going to round up these Edomites and wipe them off the face of the earth. There's not going to be any more pale-skinned people on this planet. There's not going to be any more Edomites on this planet. And for any Israelites who look like these Edomites in the kingdom, they're going to be put back in their melanated state. They're not going to look like these Edomites anymore, because looking like an Edomite is a curse. Having pale skin is not a good thing. That's a curse. Nobody should be proud of that. Nobody should want to look like these people. Now, obviously, our people, the Israelites were scattered amongst all nations. So Israelites are going to come looking like all these other nations. that we didn't have a choice in that part, you know. But in the kingdom, the the Israelites who look like Edomites, they're going to be transformed and put back in their melanated state. They're not going to look like these Edomites. The world is going to go back to being melanated the way it always should be. And the very thing that Esau fears is coming to pass. Losing his power, being put underneath the people that he hates the most, which are the Israelites, who primarily make up so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Esau hates us more than any other nation of people. We are his number one enemy, just like he is our number one enemy. And just like how right now he's on top and we're on the bottom, the Lord is about to flip it and put us on top, and Esau is going to be on the bottom. And when the Lord flips it, Esau is going to stay on the bottom until he's ultimately erased off the face of the earth. So for all you sincere brothers and sisters out here, you should not be sad. You should not be depressed. Like, we are in some beautiful times. We're watching the downfall of our enemy. The kingdom of heaven is right around the corner, so to speak. You should be excited. You should be rejoicing. You should be in a very upbeat mood and an upbeat spirit. Because we are witnessing the fall of our enemy. And don't get it twisted. These other nations, they are our enemies as well. They've definitely, played their part in our downfall and in our oppression. So they are our enemies too, and we're going to put a foot up their ass as well in the kingdom. But our chief enemy has always been and will always be Esau, these so-called white people. So seeing them being removed out of power, the people who have oppressed us the most, being removed out of power by the Lord who put them in power, it's a beautiful thing to behold. And it's only going to become more evident and more clear as the days go by. And the water, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai for that. So for all you sincere brothers and sisters, even though things in the world are becoming, more chaotic, more unstable, more hostile, we just have to stay, keep our head up, stay prayed up, stay focused on fervently serving the Lord, and honestly rejoicing, knowing that our captivity is almost at an end. The kingdom of heaven is almost here. The downfall of our enemies is almost here. Like, a lot of beautiful things are happening. So just keep your eyes on the prize, as the old saying goes. And just keep your mindset on enduring unto the end, and Adawan Ratazah, which means Lord's will, being saved, being delivered. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. In closing, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash, the Wadi Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are still fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to all the Akwath, which are the sincere sisters, and shalom to the scattered Israelites of the hopeful elect, who are amongst these other nations and look like these other nations. I hope you all stay strong, stay safe, stay fervent, stay circumspect, stay prayed up, and Adawan Ratazah. Until next time, shalom.